Hello, welcome to Story Circles. If you've been following our channel, you'd know that I love to visit the classic stories and update them for my students. This one goes back to at least 700 years ago. It originated in Spain. Now, we all love getting new clothes, but here's the story of an emperor who takes that to the extreme. If you love a good laugh, you'd definitely love how this story ends. It's called The Emperor's New Clothes. Hundreds and hundreds of years ago, there lived an emperor who is best remembered for his vanity and foolishness. Every Saturday, his personal valet styled his beard and carefully trimmed his hair, and the emperor would dress up in new clothes. He put on boots and gloves of the finest leather, stitched by master craftsmen. Then he would ride out on his horse or in his elegant carriage to attend a party or a theatre production. The emperor spent a fortune on what he chose to wear. The citizens of his land took pride in his stylish, expensive clothes and enjoyed hearing stories about his extravagant dinners and new possessions. It didn't really matter to them that their lives were difficult because he was so interesting. And well, he was their own emperor. One day, two strangers came to the city. On hearing of the emperor's vanity, they went to his palace and offered their services as royal cloth weavers. "Your Excellence," said the first stranger, "the people in the city praise your great elegance. We are superb weavers, and we can manufacture the finest cloth, woven with threads of silk and silver and gold." "The cloth we weave is extraordinary," the second one said. "It can only be seen by honest and intelligent men, such as yourself." "It's entirely invisible to dishonest, stupid people," the first one added. The two strangers bowed low. The emperor was flattered and immediately welcomed them to stay at the palace. It would be a useful thing, thought the emperor, to be able to tell which of my ministers and advisers can be trusted to tell the truth. And it would be wonderful to have new clothes. And so the men set up their looms in a special room in the palace. The emperor supplied silver, gold, and silk threads in large quantities and commanded the men to produce this most beautiful and unique cloth. Everyone at the palace talked with excitement about the new weavers who were producing cloth that you could see only if you were wise and honest. After a few days, the men went to the emperor and said, "Sire, we have produced 3 yards of magnificent green and white silk cloth, flecked with silver and gold. At your convenience, please come and have a look." The emperor imagined how stately he would look in such fabric and sent his minister of justice to inspect their work. The minister entered their room. He stood in silence, staring at the empty looms. The first weaver exclaimed, "Why do you say nothing, sir? Look at this splendid cloth." The second man continued, "See how beautiful the pattern is. Look at how skillfully we have woven the threads of silver and gold." The Minister of Justice asked himself, "Why can't I see the cloth? Have I really told such terrible lies?" But he smiled and nodded. "Indeed, it is rather beautiful. Well done." And he reported its magnificence to the emperor, who then set out to see for himself. When he entered the room, the weavers bowed low, then reached to hold up their work. The emperor watched in silence. He began to feel uneasy. "Your Excellence," the first spoke politely, "here is our handiwork." The second continued, "Isn't this pattern beautiful? See how skillfully we have woven the threads of silver and gold." The emperor was thinking of a lie he had once told to increase his wealth. He wanted so much to see this special cloth, but the truth was that it was entirely invisible to him. "You are right," he finally replied. "It is indeed beautiful. I will send you more threads of silver and gold and silk so that you may double your production." After a few more days, the emperor sent his oldest and most trusted minister to check on their work. When the minister returned, praising the men's skillful weaving and beautiful designs, the emperor felt grateful that he had such an honest person working for him. The time soon came for the emperor to lead a grand procession through the streets to celebrate his birthday. Throughout the city, people talked about the skilled weavers and how the emperor should be dressed. Have you heard of the ingenious weavers who have spun cloth of silver and gold and silk? They say only honest men can see the material. Makes it easy to catch the liars, right? They laughed. The ministers closest to the emperor informed him that the people wished him to dress in this wondrous new cloth. And so he commanded the two men to tailor a special suit for the occasion. For 2 days, the men could be heard working. Finally, on the day of his birthday, they threw open the door and invited the emperor and his valet in to put on the new suit. "Would it please your majesty to remove your clothing?" said the first. The valet helped him out of his garments. Then the emperor stood in front of the large mirror. Arms outstretched, the weaver turned to the valet. "Here are the trousers." The valet was about to say that he could see nothing, then remembered that he had secretly taken a precious ivory hairbrush belonging to his master. "How exquisite," he said, and he helped the emperor put them on. The second weaver lifted his arms. "Here is the shirt. The silk is feather light and soft." And so it continued until they announced that the emperor was fully and splendidly dressed. The emperor gazed at himself in the mirror. He saw only his underpants, socks, boots, gloves, and hat. But he turned as if examining the fit of the garments. "Excellent indeed," he said. The birthday procession began. The emperor noticed that the crowd's first reaction was silence. Then one woman said, "Oh, how handsome the emperor looks today in his new clothes." Soon the men and women were all praising his appearance. "Very elegant indeed. What a perfect fit. The best birthday suit ever." As the emperor passed by, waving his gloved hand, the woman curtsied and the men bowed. But where are his clothes? He is not wearing any clothes. Two children were speaking to each other, and their voices, carried by the wind, were as clear as crystal. The truth was immediately obvious to all. The crowd came alive, the revelation on everyone's lips. "Where's those fancy robes?" they asked. Men, women, and children all erupted into loud and gleeful laughter at the sight of the emperor with no clothes. The emperor shuddered. They were right. How foolish he had been in his desire for finery. Nevertheless, he held his head high and continued on. His ministers and servants, walking behind him, all carried on too, their heads held as high as the emperor's. No one met the eyes of the amused citizens. And the weavers, who were really just lying tricksters, disappeared with their new treasure of silver, gold, and silk, never to be heard of again.